Good evening. My name is Monique Clark, and I would like to welcome you to the Community Action Network's Black History Month Spotlight. The Community Action Network is a service organization made up of influential African American women committed to making a difference in Terrebonne, Lafourche, and surrounding parishes by providing volunteer services, education, awareness, and resources to target areas within the local African American communities. Tonight, we are in for an awesome treat. Our guest of honor this evening is the immensely talented Dr. Valerie Francis, Associate Professor of Music at Nicholls State University. Dr. Valerie Ann Jones Francis holds an MA, MM, and DMA in vocal music education performance from Dillard University, the University of New Orleans, and the University of Oklahoma, respectively. She also attended American Institute of Musical Studies in Graz, Austria. She was one of the first recipients of the Carol Bryce Carey Scholarship. In 1994, she represented the Gulf Coast region for the National Council auditions at the Metropolitan Opera in New York. Roles to her credit include Aida, Bess, Serena, Magda, Donna Anna, Donna Elvira, Musetta, Madame Arapova, Madama Butterfly, Michaela, Carmen, and Marshallin with the University of New Orleans Opera Theater, Cimarron Circuit Opera Company, Shreveport Opera, and New York Opera Studio. She made her debut with the New Orleans Opera as the Strawberry Woman and soprano one prayer soloist in Gershwin's Porgy and Bess in October 2010, and returned as Inez in Two Troubadour in April 2011. Most recently, she sang the role of Leonine in the premiere concert performance of a newly commissioned opera, Freedom Ride, by Dan Shore. She has also appeared as a guest soloist with the Dallas Symphony, Ames, Louisiana Philharmonic, and Jefferson Performing Arts Society orchestras. Dr. Francis is also a member of the Opera Creole, with whom she has performed the roles of Paquita, Flamenca, Charles Lucien Lambert, Tremonisha of Scott Joplin, and Trolla, Thelma Samuel Goodrich Taylor. Dr. Francis presents concerts with Dr. Wilfred Delphine, which has included benefit concerts for AIDS relief in Zambia and Carbondale, Illinois, and Sundays at 3 afternoon recital series in memory of Alpha Braun Floyd at the Benjamin L. Hooks Central Library in Memphis, Tennessee. Trinity Artist Series, Moja and Piccola Spoletta Festivals. Dr. Francis also presented the United States as one of the 3 judges for Ex Concurso Internacional Canto Lírico, an international vocal competition in Trujillo, Peru. In November of this year, she returned to Peru to judge, present a vocal recital, and host master classes for the 24th Concurso Internacional Canto Lírico vocal competition. Dr. Francis also serves as Executive Artistic Director of the Patriotic Project Statewide Youth Chorus, an interactive music empowerment program providing youth an opportunity to be exposed to several forms of creative arts. This program also allows children from various backgrounds to come together, transcending race, economic, and cultural differences to form a diverse group of singers and performers who have volunteered their voices and hearts to show the strength and beauty of unity in a patriotic project to remind America that we are all Americans. She currently serves as Associate Professor of Vocal Music Education at Nicholls State University in Thibodaux, Louisiana, and choir director of her own church, Free Mission Baptist Church, where her father, Reverend Johnny Jones Jr., served as pastor. Dr. Francis continues to perform locally, nationally, and internationally. Wow, what an awesome bio, and what a treat and honor it is to have you with us tonight, Dr. Francis. Thank you so much for joining me for this Black History Month Spotlight. So, wow.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. So, after reading a bio as impressive as yours, what or who inspired you to enter the profession of music education?
I come from a whole lineup of educators. And my dad, was a principal. And my mom was also a nurse and a nurse educator. So my aunt worked with children. It's just my whole family. We're into education or nursing or something in the medical field, but mostly in education.
Right.
It's just been ingrained in me, and as far as music goes, my dad was a wonderful singer. My mom could carry it to me, but my dad was a wonderful singer. And he also majored, he started off as a music major at university.
Wow.
And okay, I'm sorry about that. Oh,
no problem.
There we are. Yeah. I figure out how to turn this other thing off. But and so my dad had a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful voice. And I just started following him and singing behind him, and he was a baritone, and I'd be behind him, behind him. And one special memory I have is we had the old-fashioned televisions, the floor models. And there was a person, a singer by the name of Andy Williams, who was on every night to close out the broadcast, and I would be sitting on the floor in front of this big old TV and with crocodile tears coming down my eye, and I wouldn't go to sleep until I heard him sing every night.
Wow.
My mom and dad had to come and pick me up, say, "Val, time to go to bed." And at that point, they purchased a piano, and I started taking piano lessons and things. And I had some wonderful teachers, and I could match pitches very, very easily. Could hear anything, play by ear.
Wow.
And so my mom and my dad recognized that. And they said, "Okay, well, you need to be doing some things in music." And, I was always very, very shy. And I would say that my parents were the ones who instilled in me that I could do whatever, was capable of doing based on what I heard. And I've always had a very supportive family. And like I said, they were major educators in the community, and back then, everybody knew everybody, and it's just major support system. And it was crazy because when I finally went to 35, I wasn't in the choir until maybe into the concert choir, the main choir, until my senior year, because I was just that shy.
Right. Wow.
And my church musician and my Mrs. Patricia Sallier Seals, who is 90 something years old now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And, and she instilled so much into me, and just going to Dillard and having that whole experience with the Negro Spirituals and things of that sort. And, it was just kind of all around me, but even though that was all around me, the crazy thing that I wanted to be a veterinarian. And it was crazy, crazy, crazy. And when I went to Dillard, I said, I'm going to be a veterinarian. I'm not going to do this music thing, but I love the choir. And Mr. Davenport, he's still over there, teaching voice and choir at Dillard. And as I said, I was very, very shy. And so when I went to Dillard, I sang for the freshman parade of talent. I don't know if you remember that, but they had,
I do.
Freshman parade of talent. And I sang the way we were.
Wow.
Right after that, I would say Mr. Davenport helped me make my decision too, because he said, Valerie, on into my office and the scales. And I sang and I kept going higher and higher and higher and higher. And the higher I got, the more his eyebrows, it's like, okay, I think you need to go, major in music.
Right.
Try it out. And then he told me to, you need something to fall back on, have something to fall back on. So he said, do music education. And the rest is history. And it was a great thing, because you always need to have something to fall back on. And that was
Right. It's just amazing to see how your journey evolved from wanting to do something in the sciences to having that mentor that just really polished you and supported you and encouraged you. So how do you use that as a professor? Because I'm sure you do the same for your current students. What do you do to encourage them? And when you see that glimmer of talent or ability to really foster that for the next generation?
I'm pretty good at motivating kids to listen to me. It's so funny. I hear them say, I don't know if this is for me. And actually, when we talk about this Festival of Spirituals concert, when we get to it, it's very ironic. A few of the kids that sang, one young lady has a doctorate degree in performance, was one of my kids at Dillard.
Wow.
And I remember her saying, I'm not going to sing this stuff. Forget it. Now she has a doctorate in performance.
Wow. Wow.
She's a doctor.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I've had several kids. I have a young lady who finished from Juilliard.
Wow.
And teaching her, she's a little girl, Tatum Robinson. I started teaching her, and she's like, I want to be a Beyonce. I don't want to. I said, just give it a try. I'm hearing something else in your voice. Give it a try. And she did. And now she's working on her doctorate in performance.
Wow.
One other guy at Dillard, name is Marcus Howard. And Monique, he had a voice like one of those. And he would talk to me every day in the hall. Hello. And boy, get in my office right now. And by the time I finished, he was majoring in engineering at Dillard, and I taught him on the side. He didn't major in music, but he came to me for lessons every week.
Wow.
Next thing I know, he was getting his master's in performance. And I think he went to Indiana or somewhere in Pennsylvania.
Wow.
Outstanding. So just, you just gotta help people believe that they can do it. Because my mom and my dad did not allow us to limit ourselves. And my mom was one to tell me, look, Val, you have this gift, and you're gonna use it. There will be no limiting of yourself in here.
Right. Right.
So and I know that I have that in me from my parents to encourage kids to believe in what they think, is unbelievable.
Right.
Some kids haven't been exposed to this style.
That's very true.
And so and just like I was exposed to it, but I didn't see enough people that looked like me. And so I was like, that's not me, And so I look at the young people that I've talked to and taught, and to see where they were and how they came to me and what they're doing now. It's just a blessing. That's where I get mine. That's why I'm like so thankful.
Yeah.
One of my students just today, the young man, is it Duke, that takes pictures and stuff like that. And told me today, she said when she saw him, he was in his car playing the Negro Spirituals from the recital.
Wow.
And he was like, I've never heard this I've never experienced this before. And I'm wow,
Yeah. Yeah.
So, it's all about exposure.
That's so
And,
true.
and helping young people, young and old, but find out that, hey, yeah, you can do this if you just give it a
That's
just
right.
don't, my mom, just no limiting of yourselves at all. That this wasn't allowed, and that's and
right.
so you know, some kids listen, and some kids, if they're not really on it, but I have students that are teaching at Morgan City High School. Started off as an instrumentalist, started singing. Now he is teaching. His kids are winning competitions, and
oh wow, that's amazing.
so it's a blessing to give back.
Right.
Give back, and so that there's a way to do it. You got to figure out a way to maneuver how you're going to get them in. But eventually, I'm like, I'm going to win. I always tell them, I'm going to win.
So how did you develop the celebration of the Negro Spirituals and bring that to Nicholls? It's such a powerful concert, and it's been going on for a number of years. What made you decide this is something that's needed at Nicholls?
Okay, girl. This I changed it to a celebration of Negro Spiritual at Nicholls, but it started when I came home from Oklahoma, and when I was teaching at Dillard, and it was the Festival of Spirituals at Dillard. So it's really been going on since like 1996.
Oh, wow.
And, after Katrina and everything, you know how that went. So I came to Nicholls, and I knew that, we had to get the community involved more in diversity, and diverse music. And the music that was there, it's wonderful, but we had to make sure, I felt that my goal was to make sure that every style was covered, and the Negro Spiritual, when you talk about the other composers, they're just on the other side of the water, like Mozart and Beethoven and Haydn and Schubert and all these other people. But guess what? The torment and everything that was happening on this side of the water is the same. It was happening at the same time.
Wow.
So you look at that, and I'm like, it's very important. My voice teacher at the University of Oklahoma had the Festival of Spirituals every year on Palm Sunday. And I thought it was so unique because, I was definitely in the minority at the University of Oklahoma. My voice teacher, of course, was of African descent, of course, and I think he was half African. I think it's people from not Ghana, the Gullah people. And he did this Festival of Spirituals, and the different people, it wasn't just African Americans that sang the spirituals, Right. And it was different people who wanted to sing them, but when you sang, you had to sing for him and make sure that you applied the dialect, the style, everything had to be in place if you want to sing. It doesn't matter if you were Black, white, Hispanic, whatever, you had to make sure that it was going to stay in the stylistic traits, because if not, it's going to get lost. Right. And so that was so important to him. And coming from an HBCU, and I know how we were exposed to those spirituals, I knew that I had to keep that alive. And once I asked him, I said, well, Mr. Davenport, Mr. Carey, I'd like to share the Festival of Spirituals at Dillard. And he said, well, you should do it. And we started doing it every year at Dillard. And then when I got to Nicholls, I spoke to the chair then. It was Dr. Carol Britt then. And she was like, that'll be wonderful. And we've been doing it ever since. And the fellowship, what I love is the camaraderie between the students from the different colleges, because they're going to be, they're going to be in those circles, the same circles, competing, singing together, and to watch them support each other, and to be so dedicated to the traditional style without changing the style.
Very true.
That's some unique students. That's unique kids who listen to me. You know what I'm saying? They don't have to listen, but they listen to me. I'll be like, what? But but they do listen to me, and because you can't, that's music of the past. But you have to, if you're going to sing it, you have to sing it with the proper dialect, the stylistic traits, everything, And I tell them all the time, my students all the time, I say, if you sing a Schubert Lied, you're not going to change what's written.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. And if you do add a little something, it has to be stylistically correct to do it.
Right.
So, and I'm very passionate about the Negro Spiritual. At one time, my mom thought I was going to be a civil rights lawyer, because I came up during that time when all these things were happening,
Right.
And I used to be like, what is going on here? But the feelings I have about the past, my parents didn't teach me to hate. I tell my students all the time, they didn't teach me to hate, but you can't forget the history.
That's right.
You got to know, where you came from to know where you're going. And you have to respect this music, because these are songs that came out of a terrible, terrible, terrible place, but beautiful melodies that tells you what kind of spirit.
Right.
Our people, I get the chills every time I think about it, because, I'm just that passionate about singing for our ancestors who could not speak for themselves.
That's so true.
So, so whatever area we are in the arts, like what you're doing, this is beautiful. Whatever area you're in, it's our responsibility, our obligation to speak for those who could not speak for themselves in your different genres and different, areas of the arts or whatever you're in. We got to do it. And so my area is singing. I love opera and everything, but my first love is a Negro spiritual.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And how do you feel like, because I loved how you described how the students came together and you kept them true to really connecting on that level with the dialect and everything. What have you found that the students take away from the experience? I know you mentioned Duke was saying he was just enthralled by it. He had never heard that type of music before. Is that something common that you hear from the students, that they're surprised by the message, or how are they affected?
I think some of the kids that come, their teachers are pretty on point with Negro Spirituals. So, they're on it. So they come there knowing how important it is and how important their presentation is for that platform. Right. I find people who attend the performance, they see how powerful the music is. Just you have to have some type of musical skill to sing it, and the piano parts.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not 1 4 5 7 1. That's some serious piano. Those accompanying arrangements are unbelievable. And my friend Luciana, I never forget when we first started doing it and doing the Negro Spirituals concert. And Luciana was able to do what was it? An interview for the newspaper. Okay. And Luciana, she's a stellar Steinway artist. And she was like, you have to have the skill to, these songs are high on the charts, just like any other genre. Right. And as far as the performance of Negro Spirituals, these composers had to bring their composition abilities up way up there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's, instead of just something we did in church. In order for the Negro Spiritual to be introduced into the world outside of the Black church.
Right.
You know,
right.
couldn't just go and just say, okay, 14571, even though that's the most beautiful, the simpler the spiritual is, the more, you know, it's just beautiful, you know.
Right.
But the piano parts, you know, that's written, it is amazing. It blows people's minds.
Yeah.
You know, it blows people's mind. I'm like, okay, no, this is not no little rinky dink. Okay, I'm gonna sing some of those slave songs and go sit down.
Right,
no.
Right. Yeah.
It's major. And for the concert stage, you have to treat it just as you would any aria or any art song you have to sing. It has to have the same level of appreciation.
Right. Right.
And performance.
Yeah. And you mentioned, as you know, Dr. Francis, operatic performance, we don't see a lot of African-American singers in that genre. So what drew you to that genre? Why did you want to perform in that arena, in that space?
Well, but when I got to UNO, there was a little lady that became my voice teacher, Dr. Tina. And she heard me. I had been teaching in the school system after I graduated from Dillard, and it was something with that NTE, and I just couldn't, you know, pass it. I couldn't I kept missing it by 1 point or 2 points and stuff like that. And I was like, I'm going back to school. Forget it. I'm going back to school. And because I have testing phobia, you know, so I just, you know, I wound up passing it a few years later, you know. But anyway, I worked with her and I was still a little defiant. So I was like, I'm not singing this stuff. I'm not gonna do it.
Right.
And that Winifred Jones, there will be no limiting of yourself. And girl, there was a young lady who was supposed to sing Musetta from the La Boheme. And it was some kind of conflict and she wound up not doing it. And the first person Dr. Cortina called was me.
Wow.
And it's so funny because I had just finished telling my mom, I said, I'm not doing this stuff. I'm getting this degree, but I'm not going to do this stuff. You know, I'm still fussing, blah, blah, blah. And just in the heat of that conversation, Dr. Cortina called, Valerie, I want you to come and get the score. You will be doing Musetta. Didn't ask me.
Right.
That was it.
You're voluntold.
So I did that, and the rest is history. She made sure, you know, because I was a little weak with my musicianship and stuff. You know, I'd been out of school for 2 years, but she took me under her wing, and she is still in my life to this day. And she's in Imani's life, my daughter's life, to this day. You know, and she trained me. And she sent me to OU. I wanted to go to Juilliard. That didn't work. But she had someone else, Thomas Carey, at University of Oklahoma. When I graduated, I had done, oh goodness, Madame Uterpova. I had done Musetta, and I started teaching again. Yeah, I taught for 2 years, and she was like, okay. I need you singing on the stage, you know, and because I always loved children, you know, but I had to, like I said, have something to fall back on.
Right.
She called me back to do Madame Butterfly, and I did Madame Butterfly, and after that, I remember going to the ladies' room right before my last act when I killed myself, right. And I heard these ladies in the bathroom, and they were like, in the ladies' room, and they were like, and who? You can hear them, you know. I'm in the ladies' room, and you can hear them talking. And who is this Valerie Jones? Who is this? You know, and I want to tell them, I'm from right here. You know, I'm a city girl, but I'm listening to them talk, and I'm like, what are they hearing? You know. And I went back, finished the scene. And after that, Dr. Cortina said, "You out of here. You are out of here."
Wow.
And she said she worked it out. I wanted to go to Juilliard. Juilliard didn't accept me. And so she sent me, when I came back, she had already set up something with Thomas Carey at the University of Oklahoma. Went there, auditioned. All I had to do after that, full scholarship.
Wow.
Full tuition. Housing. All I had to do was get in my car and go.
What a blessing.
God is good. And from that, and he took it from there. He trained me. And from that point on, I said, okay, when I did my dissertation, that was the key too, Monique. My dissertation was on the emergence of the African-American classical singer.
Oh.
And here I started doing all this research, and I'm like, Elizabeth Taylor Greenfield, who is that? And
right.
She was back there way back when, they called her the Black Patty. And I'm like, what? That's in the 1600s. And I'm like, what? And who is this Cicely Retta Jones? And, and all these different people. And I started, and OU gave me money to travel and interview first Blacks in opera.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
And so my dissertation is very, it has all the historical stuff, but at the end of my dissertation, it's a conversation that I had with all of the people. I interviewed like 7 different people, and all the way up to Michigan and Los Angeles and all over, and Pennsylvania, I think too. Yeah, and I interviewed all of these first Blacks in opera, and the interviews are so informal, but it was questions that I had as an opera singer, a Black opera singer, always in the minority.
Right.
And I told them about some of the ways I was feeling. And what was so unique about their answers, that none of them were negative. None of them were negative in saying, and giving me advice. Right. They were like, don't just say you're Black, be Black and be the best Black you can be. Right.
Right.
And from then on, I've been good, and I've tried to pass things down to my daughter and to my students, and they believe me. And I'm like, okay. And that's how you start realizing, if you're the exposure thing is key. The exposure thing is key, and having people who believe in you.
Right.
And so all those small little crevices where you're starting to feel like, oh, I can't do this. Yeah. You have somebody to lift you up because they hear something that you don't hear. Yeah. And I think that's what kept me on this whole operatic thing. And then to go to OU and come back right here, where I had auditioned for the Met a few times, Monique, before I won. And I had one negative experience where one of the judges told me, because Dr. Cortina had built up my voice, this big old thing, and he told me, how can you sound this way at your age? You should just leave this audition alone. Don't do it.
Wow. Wow.
And I was like, okay, brother. And and I told my teacher, and she was like, don't worry about it. And by that time, like I said, I had gone to Mr. Carey, came back, auditioned in the same place.
Wow.
And won. And I was the only African-American singer, the top 25 singers they call in the world for the Met auditions.
Wow.
I was the only African-American singer to compete, and I represented the Gulf Coast region that year, in 1994.
That is fantastic. That is fantastic.
So God has been good, and he guides us. And I think all of those experiences are like ingrained in me. So when I see little parts of me in my students, I start calling. I say, okay, Valerie, I see you. I see you, Valerie.
Right.
And when I start calling them Val, they're like, oh Lord. I said, I did that too. Whoa, hey Val, what's going on, Val?
I love it. I love it, Val. I love it. So what is the legacy, as a final question, what is the legacy that you want to leave behind as a contributor to Black history? Because you've obviously, just from talking to you right now, learning so many things and just knowing what you've done and accomplished, you've already contributed. But what are the other things that you want to leave for your legacy when people think of you?
I would want people to think that that I was one who was willing to share what God has given me. One that's very thankful for the just God's favor, and just the whole idea. My mom taught me this all the time: just dare to be different, and to know your worth,
right,
and to not allow what other people's opinions of you are to change your focus, you know, because it is easy. It's easy for that. I have my African build, and sometimes that affected whether, what I got and what I was able to get, they see this woman who has this African build with the hips or whatever. And, and some of that can affect, the way people see you. But I've noticed now, especially with all of the attention on the Black Lives Matter and stuff like that. And I'm all for that, but not for the part. I don't want it to get to a place where we separate ourselves. We got to do this thing together. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And everybody got to respect everybody.
That's right.
So leaving that legacy of we got to get along, knowing your worth, trusting God for all things, and just being the best you can be.
Right.
Strive to be the best you can be, and humility first.
That's powerful.
And just that the whole doubting thing, and it happens to me all the time, but you have to just pray all of that off, and just, whatever it takes to be the best you can be.
Right.
Do it.
That's awesome. Well, Dr. Francis, you remind me of this African-American opera singer, Jessie Norman. And I saw a quote that said,
I love her.
In this modern society, art may be the only force that invites expression from the inside out, where the pure light of the wisdom of the soul is realized. And Dr. Francis, you are a light to so many people. You're a pure light and an inspiration. And I just thank you for joining me tonight for this Black History Month Spotlight, with you being the person that we speak to tonight. Thank you for your candidness and your fun. I just love talking to you. You're just an amazing human being, so talented.
Thank you, Monique.
So thank you very much. And really appreciate your time.
Thank you. God bless.
Thank you.